Hey darlings, I hope you're well. I'm tired of BPD not being taken seriously. A lot of people don't even think it's a real disorder. I'm tired of the stigma, I'm tired of everything. So I just kind of wanted to explain the severity of BPD because most people don't even know what it is. People don't know that the suicide rate is so high. It has the same death rate as stage 2 Hodgkin's disease, which is a form of cancer. And if people knew that BPD was as dangerous and life-threatening as a certain cancer, I know they'd take it more seriously. And like mental health and physical health are equal and they deserve to be treated equal. So yeah, I'm going to go into how BPD is severe, the death rate, how some people consider it a disability. Google isn't our friend when it comes to BPD. Like when you Google stuff about BPD, there are a lot of misconceptions and stigmas, but when you Google what's the most painful mental illness, guess what comes up? BPD. So for a lot of people it is considered the most mentally torturous mental illness. So it basically is like an agonizing inner experience. We're constantly questioning ourselves. It's like chronic emotional pain and extreme like sensitivity to negative emotions. We feel grief on a daily basis over small things. It's basically psychological extreme pain. Whatever you want it to be called. I like emotional intensity disorder, but for the sake of it being well known, I call it BPD. BPD is the most self-damaging and severe mental illness, and yes, it is a disability. I don't feel comfortable really claiming it as one, just because in my mind I have this image of what disabled is. Disability isn't all that you see in the media. It can happen to anyone, young or old. It can be visible or invisible, and there's so many different types of ways you can be disabled. Different countries have slightly different definitions of what is disabled, and different countries have different definitions of what is a chronic illness. But in the UK, I know that BPD is considered a chronic illness. Chronic means that it's lifelong and it causes daily suffering basically. But essentially, like the definition is if you have a physical or mental impairment that has a substantial and long-term negative effect on your ability to do normal daily activities, then you are disabled. I know BPD is long-term, it has a negative effect on our daily living and it affects all areas of our life. And like, it's okay if you don't feel like that identity is for you, and if you are disabled, if you don't feel comfortable claiming that word, it's okay. A lot of us have internalized ableism, so a lot of us are grown up hearing you're attention seeking, you're making it all up, depression, mental illness in general isn't real. So when you find out you have this severe mental illness, you internalize and tell yourself it's not real or it's not bad enough. So just because you never heard about it growing up and that you haven't seen yourself represented in media doesn't mean that you don't have like a mental disability. Whilst BPD I think mostly is considered a mental disability, I think it's fine if you don't want to like claim that term as yours. So with BPD, 20% are hospitalised. We have 50 times the suicide rate of the average person. 60 to 70% of us attempt suicide and 10% of us succeed in suicide. And a 10% death rate is a lot. It's like as dangerous as so many different severe disorders. And whilst treatment isn't impossible, it is difficult. In the UK it's considered chronic and it's long term, so like by definition that is a disability. So yeah, in a way it's like validating to know that like your pain is valid, because all these years I just thought like I'm such a crybaby, I'm so sensitive, I've been told all my life you're just sensitive, and hearing just sensitive makes it seem like you're just being weak or a pussy. But in reality we're like way more sensitive in an extreme amount that it's so severe it makes us want to die over minor inconveniences. And whilst that sounds like a meme, it's kind of accurate. It's just the most like self-damaging, and a lot of us have comorbid mental illnesses. Most of us have comorbid mental illnesses. Like for me it's an eating disorder, for other people it can be also depression, anxiety, but it can also be like bipolar, ADHD, autism. It can go on to different habits and addictions like drug addiction, drinking addictions, food addictions, shopping addictions, like spending addictions, gambling, unsafe sex. There's so many different types of symptom can be displayed. So with the impulsivity and risk taking It doesn't mean you have all those things, it might mean you just partake in one. And not everyone with BPD is the same. Whether you like it or not, it is a brain abnormal, can't say the word, an abnormality. I probably said that wrong. A problem with your brain, it's a disorder, whatever you want to call it, it's a mental disability. If you step foot in our shoes and like lived one day with BPD, you would kind of understand like how we struggle to function, how we struggle to get ourselves out of bed, how we struggle to have a job, going to school, like all these things that normal people don't have much problem with. It's so hard. Because of the death rate, it just kind of proves how like it should be taken seriously. It's a very dangerous disorder to have. If I was ever in a crisis, I would just deal with it on my own because I thought that's what everyone does. But it's okay to reach out and get help. In fact, you kind of need to, especially if you like have been diagnosed. Talking therapy, DBT therapy, CBD therapy, like even if you haven't been diagnosed, you should go to the GP. Like watching videos on YouTube isn't gonna cure your mental health on your own. You do need to like reach out to a professional and get help. And I know it's not accessible for all, but if it is accessible, like please do that. 10% of people dying is a lot of people. 60 to 70% of us attempting suicide is way too many people. And the fact that we're more likely to attempt suicide 50 times the general population is like quite something to me. Because BPD is so painful, like you do need to either get help for it or like have survival tips in place and crisis boxes and crisis plans, and you really do need to take the steps towards bettering yourself, because you could literally become another statistic. If you're not careful, it could be you. And there's nothing like, obviously I don't have to say this, but there's nothing glamorous about suicide or self-harm, or it's just a symptom of a disability basically, and it's not our fault, it's not something we've chosen. So yeah, I hope you've had a good week, I hope you enjoy the weekend. Bye.